Ja, also weißt du, wie es ist, dass ich regelmäßig zweimal ins Geldnis habe. Aber ja, ich bin schon froh, weißt du, wenn es nicht kommen. Irgendwo weiss ich ja nicht, steigern kannst du nicht. Ja, aber das heißt auch, wenn ja.
Okay, and now we're back again with, I believe this is episode 5 of the show. I'll eventually lose the count of episodes, but I hope you guys can forgive me for that. Now, for this one, we actually have another guest, as always, from the server, one of the more notable ones, who I'm sure a lot of you have actually found a lot of inspiration from, since we've been there to watch his journey from start to now, is RLC. So, RLC, please do introduce yourself.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you also for having me on this podcast. It's a pleasure to be able to participate in it. A lot of you guys know me on the Discord server as RLC, but my real name is Philip, so feel free also to talk to me as Philip. I'm a 24-year-old student from Switzerland. Who likes to go to the gym, obviously. And I joined the Discord server, I think it's soon 2 years ago. And since then been part of it and shared my fitness journey. And yeah.
So, Philip, if I recall, when you did enter, you were just like pretty much a beginner, weren't you, right? If I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's right. So I joined the Discord server like in June, and in the April before was the first time I set foot into a gym. So I was pretty new. It was pretty overwhelming at first with all the new information and the form checks and everything. But it was great. It helped me a lot.
I can remember loosely how it was, and like 2 years ago was a very different environment in the server as well. So,
yeah.
So to start off this, what got you into the gym in the first place, and why did you just you said that you were in the gym before prior to the server? So what got you to the gym in the first place, and then how did you find yourself joining the server?
Well, that's actually a bit of a longer story, so I'm just gonna go on.
Please tell us
the thing was
the whole
that
story.
It was 2020, end of or at the beginning of March, and I then was just freshly out of a relationship, and well, I really struggled with that, or with the relationship ending at first, because I was 22, I was in the relationship for 5 years, so since 17 we met in high school, and then over the time, it's an age where you develop and change, and over the time we just grew apart, we went to university in different cities, and so now I can say it was for the best, but at the moment then I struggled a lot, and I basically just lost myself, because I really during those 5 years I identified myself with the relationship. So now that the relationship was over, I was like there and asked myself, well, who am I without the relationship? What are my goals? What is my purpose? And I struggled a lot with that. And furthermore, a week later, COVID started, lockdowns began, everything was closed. I couldn't get any distractions. I was sitting in my room because I had home office, and my thoughts just wandered, and I started to overthink everything. and it was very overwhelming. So first I started to just go running for a while. We have back then I lived with my parents, and they had like a little forest behind the house, and I just went running every second day, like 7 to 10 kilometers, because while I ran, it distracted me. I had a break from the thoughts. I had a break from the emotional pain. I could push myself harder, and then I just ran and ran and ran. So it was like excessive cardio, and because I also hadn't any appetite, I lost a lot of weight. I was, when I started, like 90 kg. That's like 200 pounds, more or less.
More or less.
And I ran for like until beginning of April. Back then I was 82 kg, so a little bit over 180 pounds. So I lost a lot of weight, and that caused me to kind of start to see the abs, and that really got me hooked. So I thought, hey, as soon as the lockdown ends, I want to start going to the gym and work on my body. And I did that. Lockdown ended. I started going to the gym because it provided me with the same distraction. It gave me a chance to better myself, to have a goal again. And that's how I really got into the gym, and I liked it more and more. And I was also really interested in everything around the gym and about the anatomy, which muscles do which movement. And so I wanted to make everything perfect. Went on YouTube, searched for video, discovered the Picturefit YouTube channel, was amazed by it because it's like every topic that you ask yourself as a beginner, extremely simple, explained with nice animations and soothing voice. So, well, it was my favorite channel in no time, and I think in one of his videos he mentioned at the end that there's a Discord. So I tried Discord and joined the Discord, and that's how I landed here.
It feels like fate, kind of, because I know COVID was really hard on a lot of people, but at the same time, like you said, because of COVID, you couldn't find other things to distract yourself. And I know that's for some people, distractions can be unhealthy distractions. So let's say COVID never happened and you didn't get a lockdown, maybe you would have actually distracted yourself with something even unhealthier or bad habits. So there's this a pretty nice silver lining there, because you couldn't distract yourself with something unhealthy. You instead found something healthier, which is just running.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't actually know about the whole start of that thing that started you into the gym. But so far, how have you been finding the gym?
Awesome. It well, to continue with the story from before, at with COVID and the lockdown and no distractions and really being isolated by myself in the room, I started really to overthink everything, to kind of basically I slowly started to fall into kind of a depression. It was really bad, and I didn't find any joy in life and any purpose. Like, what am I here for? And of course, after breakup, you have a really, 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 really low self-esteem. I asked myself, well, what did I do wrong? What is wrong with me, basically? And COVID just emphasized all of those thoughts, being isolated. So the gym was really kind of an outlet for me. It was like the 2 hours a day that I could completely shut my mind off. I had a break from all those thoughts. I was just, when I was in the gym, it was just me and the weights, and it was just pushing and pulling, and that's everything. And I could go to my limits and push myself. And it was an outlet for my emotions, for my frustrations, for anger, for everything. So it helped me a lot in that way. And also, it was a time where I struggled to have a goal. I struggled to kind of look forward to the next day, and the gym like gave me a reason or goals to achieve and a reason to stay, because I thought, hey, I well, the depression got at the time so bad that I even started to have passive suicidal thoughts. Um, Passive meaning that I never planned on doing something, but I just played with the thought and it was an option. But it was always like, hey, I first gotta break this record in the gym. I first gotta bench 100 kg. I first gotta squat 3 plates or whatever. And that kind of kept me going. And it also gave me like the reason, hey, if I can achieve all these goals in gym, I can also get through that dark time and through that depression. So it was really like the gym that in my worst moments that kept me there and gave me a purpose, and yeah, a reason to stay. So I owe a lot to the gym.
I think a lot of people can actually share that sentiment with you, where the
Yeah,
gym really has turned their life completely 180, honestly.
yeah,
And it's still turning people's lives now, even though they're still not where you are yet. I'm sure that they can totally relate with the journey that you're facing with the gym right now. But would you say that is that still how you feel about the gym nowadays?
um, not as strong anymore. Well, of course, the gym still is an outlet, but I don't have like so much things to let out now. But I think it's still a crucial part of my life. It's still like my 2 hours that I have for myself, that I can, when I enter the gym, I leave everything behind and just focus on the gym, and it's still my break. But it's not like as crucial and needed as it once was. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson said this, where, and I know he says some iffy stuff about motivation and all the time, but he did say something that I think a lot of us gym goers can actually agree upon, is that he says that the gym is kind of like his rock, where no matter what happens in his life, the gym is always there for him, and he knows that that's his base
Mhm.
that he can always rely on, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And that's exactly how it is. So.
Yeah, actually really glad to hear, man. But recalling back on your whole journey throughout the server, I believe, like with some other people as well, I'm sure others have gone through this as well, was a bit of an obsessive phase with the gym, like
Mhm.
with tracking, and just numbers, whatever. And I think there was a time where you were struggling with the social life, even with the gym, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, I was like completely obsessed with the gym. Um, Part of the reason was because the gym was the one thing that I had in that time and the one thing that pulled me out. So I was kind of afraid and scared that if I don't perform well at the gym, if I don't succeed, if I don't reach my goal, like the one thing I have will be gone again and I'll fall back into that dark place again. So I really got obsessed with making everything perfect. I had to get my 8 hours of sleep a day. If I couldn't fall asleep at night, I get really stressed because that means less sleep, means less or bad session the day afterwards. And well, that was then the reason I couldn't sleep. But or I, well, the obsession was like for more or less a year, where it was really really strong. Like I didn't miss a meal. I tracked every calorie. I never missed a workout. It got unhealthy. It really got unhealthy, and I think especially also for beginners, it's really easy to make gym like the priority one, and everything is about the gym, and to be overly obsessed with the calories. And but in the end, it's just too much. Like if you look down the road in 5 years, when you have, or if you've been consistent for 5 years and you have like the body you want, and you look back, that one beer at a barbecue or that one missed training session, that won't make a difference, right? But yeah, I was overly obsessed. It was even like it got to the point where in December, well, I started in like April, and then in December the second lockdown began, and gyms closed. And well, as the news broke, I remember I sat on my computer reading the news, and I literally broke down in tears, and I had like a breakdown because, well, if gyms are closed, what am I gonna do? Gym was the only thing that I had in my life at that moment. So what was I gonna do? And my mind just like exploded, and I panicked. But then, luckily, my parents have an attic, a pretty big attic in their house, and I just set up kind of some pull-up bars, some parallel bars, bought a weighted vest, and with the help of Symbol, so props to Symbol if you're hearing this, we created a plan for me to follow, and then for like 3 months when the gyms are closed, I just trained with like body weight exercises, with the weighted vest. I also trained. It was the first time I didn't train 6 days a week in a push-pull leg, but in an upper-lower 4 days a week. And I can now say that I made most of my progress up there in the attic with the 4 days a week. And that kind of was like the turning point in the obsession, because I realized, hey, it doesn't need to be 6 days a week, 2 hour sessions, with doing everything to failure to make progress, because rest is just as important. And even with 4 days a week, with limited equipment, with body weight and weighted vest exercises, I made awesome progress. And that kind of was the start of realizing that I didn't need to be as obsessive about the gym. And yeah, that's the moment when the linked progress pick and Picturefit in the Discord was taken. So the right pick, the 1 year progress, that was
the one that we use all the
after
time.
my body weight exercises.
Well, I think that's a big surprise, because even I didn't know that that pick came from when you were still training body weight. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who've seen that progress would be pretty surprised, because a lot of times people just think body weight and you think, sure, you don't think much progress. But again, a lot of times it's just people don't really know how to properly push themselves on body weight. So I'm glad that Sybil actually got around to helping you with that, because I know, knowing Sybil, he definitely knows how to set you up to really push yourself to actually get results.
Of course, definitely.
Yeah. So, and also, it was actually great that COVID happened again, because you kind of did find yourself spiraling again into the dark spot, except this time with the gym. So having that break, that forced, quote unquote, that forced deload per se, to pull you back into that, you know what, I don't actually have to go as hard as I think I need, or as I believe I need. Because I'm sure you've noticed as well, some of the younger people or the newbies, they kind of do fall into the same thing that you and me did, where when you're starting out, you get first you enjoy it a lot, so you get really obsessed, like, oh, this is so much fun and everything. Then you get obsessive about it, that you kind of can't find yourself just pulling yourself back and saying, like, you don't have to do all this all the time. You can still get pretty much the same exact results if you just dialed it down just a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that's an important part, because like muscles grow not in the gym, but while you rest. So you have to give your body the break. You have to have rest days, or let your muscles rest to really build up again, so you can push yourself hard again the next time. And it's really easy, especially also for beginners, if you fall into that, to just have the feeling that you have to push yourself on every set to failure. You have to train 6 times a week, best if 3 hour sessions, but like there's also a limited amount of volume that really is beneficial for the muscle. Like you don't need to train the chest for 3 hours 2 times a week. That's just too much. But it takes a lot to realize that and to admit that sometimes a step back to make 2 steps forward is the better option. But that's not easy.
Yeah, so massive props to you, man, for being able to make that step for yourself. So,
Well, it was mostly because of COVID and because I was forced to, but thank you.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, some people still don't realize it even after COVID. So, yeah,
Yeah,
still massive props to you, dude. Uh,
thank you very much.
like, speaking of it, so technically, right now, you've trained for about 2 years continuously, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like 2 years and plus a month or so.
So, being like 2 years into the training, would you say that you have some advice that you might have given your younger self, or in this case, some beginners saying that you guys, like, if I could tell myself this back in the past, what would you say?
Um, one thing I would say is stick to the program, stick to the programs linked in the Discord, because when I started, I thought like probably a lot of beginners too, like, yeah, I can program my own program. It's not that hard, just put some exercises together. But now that I'm a little bit more knowledgeable and informed about all those stuff, like there's so much more to a program than just some putting together some exercises. As a beginner, there's so many variables that you can miss, or yeah, just don't program or don't make your own program at the start. Use one that's made, use one that has a failure protocol, and that everything is already done. And then you can still start doing your own programs once you're further down the line, you're a bit more experienced. Because I too thought that, yeah, I can do my own program, and I did. And well, at the start it worked, of course, because of the newbie gains. And if you go to the gym the first time, you don't have to do a lot to really make progress because it's such a new stimulus to the body. But now looking back, the program was shit. It was really, it wasn't good at all. So, but at that time I thought, hey, it's a perfect program. It's taken care of everything. No, it didn't. So just stick to the programs made. On the long run, it's better to do so. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's been a while since I've heard that, where people actually just look back at their own training and thought, man, what the hell was I doing? Why did I think this was good?
Yeah, exactly. That was my reaction. Like, yeah.
Oh, dear God. So, clearly, also, like, even just your year's podcast was massively different as seen in your, like, podcast command. If you don't know what that command is in the server, it's exclamation mark RLC podcast, and then you can clearly see his podcast for that whole year. So, obviously, like, you came in the gym like as your rock, your safe place, your outlet and everything. So, and then you made progress and all. Like, your physique has changed and everything. So, what would you say? How has that affected you mentally, or like your physical image of yourself, your self esteem, body dysmorphia, anything?
Well, it kind of put a lot of pressure on me because I saw the progress and I saw the reaction to my progress. And yeah, it's nice to hear and to be appreciated for the hard work we put in. And it was a lot of hard work, but it also put like the pressure for me to like, hey, all those people saw the progress for 1 year. They expect the same for the next year, so I have to keep everything perfect and push myself and really kind of fall into that obsession again because of the pressure I made myself, because nobody forced me to and nobody really expected me to. But I just did that to myself. And also, body image rise. Well, there's this famous quote that the first time you go to the gym is the last time you feel big enough. And it
That's
kind of is
true.
like that. Well, if I ask myself and I started in the gym and showed him the 1 year progression, I thought, well, that's my goal in 5 years. And now it's like, no, my goal is like much more. And I think a big part of this or of like body image issues also comes from social media, because of course, as I started going to the gym and getting into this community, also like my social media was based more or less around all these fitness influencers, especially on TikTok and on Instagram. And the thing is that there you see them always in perfect lighting, with a pump, from a perfect angle, in an edited photo. And then you see that perfect shot, and you look at yourself in the mirror without a pump, without a good angle, without good lighting. And yeah, you just feel small, you feel not as good, you feel like you have made no progress at all. I mean, it's kind of the same with my picture, sort of, because like the lighting was perfect in the progress picture, the angle was perfect, I had a massive pump from an upper day, and I still struggle to replicate that look today, even a year afterwards. And in this year, I again accumulated a lot of mass, and I still struggle to make a picture that looks bigger than this picture. So take that progress picture with caution. But yeah, it then led to a point where I just deleted social media. I deleted Instagram, I deleted TikTok, because I realized that there's no point when you compare yourself to these influencers. Most of them have like years of experience more than you. Like such a physique normally takes 5, 6, 7 years to build, and you just have to be patient. But you wanna like get there as fast as possible, and it kind of stresses you out. Others had help otherwise, and it's just bad to compare yourself to such people. Like the only person you really should compare yourself is yourself from yesterday. Do you look better than like half a year ago? Do you perform better in the gym than half a year ago? And if you make that progress, and if you compare yourself to a past version of yourself, you can see your progress so much better. And it helps so much with body images, because you see your body progressing. But then comparing yourself to social media, to influencer, yeah, it throws all that back down. And I struggle with that too. I mean, even now, I mean, I have to say I'm pretty happy with my body. Of course, I could always be bigger, but who couldn't? So, but I have now TikTok again, and even today when I see like those influencers with in their perfect lighting and shots, I and then I look at myself in the mirror, and there are still times I feel like I've made no progress at all. There are times I look at myself and thought, well, I look exactly the same as 2 years ago, which clearly isn't the case. But at that moment, you just have like the influencer's picture in mind, and then you see yourself, and of course there's worlds between, but it's definitely hard to deal with that. I think for every young guy or girl that starts with the gym and starts doing that, it's hard.
Yeah, that's something that we just have to come to accept in a case, unless you're like ultra confident in yourself, that
Yeah,
you honestly, unless you are actually one of those 0.1% genetic freaks monsters, like you're never gonna feel like big enough, strong enough, or whatever. But then like I didn't know that you actually also felt that way with the progress pic. I'm so sorry about that. I didn't know. Like, but I hope that you're still okay with us using that comment.
yeah, of course, no problem. Like it's again, it's just like a pressure I put onto myself. Like I see the progress pic, and then I look myself in the mirror without all the pump, and thought, well, I've got a year training more. I've got more muscle mass. Like I'm 20 pounds heavier and just as lean as I was then. Well, did I even make any progress? But I just got to remind myself, hey, look at yourself in the mirror after workout with a pump, with a good lighting from the gym, and then it's a whole different story. So yeah, but it's not just use it. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. Because I didn't actually think about that. Like having you yourself be the inspiration for others. I'm sure like you'll think that, oh, I'm sure others are gonna be expecting greater things of me. But just know that we're completely fine with that, man. Like, and I think something that people need to realize later on as they keep on training, that people do have expectations on you, but a lot of times those expectations can be unrealistic. Like, let's say you just hit like huge PR on bench. Maybe you hit 4 plates, two, three, 4 plates. Okay, let's say you hit 3 plates like 1 year. Then some people are somehow crazy enough to expect you to hit 4 plates the next year. Like no, 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 no. Hold
No, it
on.
doesn't work that way. Yeah.
That's not gonna happen like in a year. So
Mhm.
even and sometimes you believe them all the time because like you make great progress this year, then you think like you gotta make the same great progress next year. But some of us we just gotta realize that that's not the case. Progress isn't like linear, especially after the beginning phase. It's like whoop whoop whoop, and then it goes up.
Yeah, exactly.
You just gotta accept that
Yeah.
things is like that. Like me, like
And you gotta,
oh, you can go
sorry?
first.
You just gotta appreciate also the small steps. Like you can't expect always to have every gym session 10 pound PR. Like it's the one or 2 pounds added to the bar that in the long run makes the difference. And well, if you think about it, if you like increase your bench by 1 kg a month, at the end of the year it would still be 12
12 kg.
kgs, and that's still pretty impressive at some point. So just embrace the small steps, the small progress, and then everything will sort itself with time.
Yeah, because like I believe you and me are both aiming for like the big 3 plays ourselves, right? And
Yeah.
I've missed that at least quote unquote attempt. But like honestly speaking, the peaking for that was absolute trash. But yeah, I have been aiming for like 3 plays as well, and I've missed it. But the peaking was trash, admittedly. But still, at the very least, now I can be assured that the PR that I have now, which is 120 and 125 on bench, I can hit consistently. At least I know that,
Yeah.
like more or less, I can hit them consistently on a relatively good day. So I know that my base is still there. At least I have a solid base. It isn't like some freak PR that I felt really, really good that day. But no, this PR is something that I can reliably hit more or less. So I just need to build off from that and hit eventually.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's also an important part because I remember in December I went for a 130 kg PR on bench, but I couldn't keep my hips down, and
I remember
I
that.
knew that I knew I could get it on a perfect day with well when everything's perfect. So I just settled for the 125, and I redid that PR like a month ago or so, and it went up smoothly, hips down, everything perfect, and yeah, it's these small steps that in the end make the difference. And I now can say, well, I hit the 130 and I can hit it, as you said, persistently. And it's not like a crazy PR as it would have been back then in December. And that's like much more pleasing to know.
Even if it's not a weight PR, like just watching the video again and seeing just how much cleaner you hit it, honestly, sometimes that feels a
That's
lot
awesome.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So like, in these 2 years, oh yeah, I don't think we ever mentioned your numbers. So what are your numbers right now, like compared to when you started, both body weight and
Well,
lifts?
when I started, well, let's say after I did the running and lost the weight, I went from 90 to 82 kgs. And now, 2 years later, I'm around 205 pounds, so like 92, 93 kgs. And yeah, or what numbers are we talking about?
Say the typical squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press. If you do focus on it, maybe pull-ups or anything.
Yeah. Well, I can't really remember with what weight I started on the bench. Um, I knew that one time at the start I thought, oh, I wanna bench 1 plate. That's the big goal. And now my bench is like 130 kg for 1 rep max, with of course the goal of 3 plates, so 140 kg. But that will come with time. My squat was probably what exploded most. That went from like 70 kg to now 170 kg. And my deadlift, the thing with deadlift is when I self-programmed, I didn't do them at all because I was scared of the exercise. Honestly, nobody at my gym ever does deadlift because it's like a commercial gym and it's not, yeah. And I only started deadlifting like after I was 1 year into training. And I started with a pretty good solid base because of the squats, and I still trained for hypertrophy, the hamstrings and everything before. So I started like with a 140 kg deadlift, and now I'm at a 200 kg deadlift, which I lost the balance on that attempt, so it's a little bit sketchy, but yeah, on a good day I did that.
But it's conventional, right? Conventional deadlift.
Yeah.
Okay.
I somehow on sumo stands I can't keep my back straight and have no balance. So somehow that's really I tried it once and never again because I just can't get into the starting position and it just feels weird for me. So from the beginning it was conventional.
Yeah. Though I feel the same way with sumo, but I think like one of these days I actually have to do sumo just for the just a variety and benefits that sumo can give that conventional can't give. You know the drill.
Yeah.
Uh, so speaking about exercise, so far, do you have a favorite exercise? Like from everything?
It changes regularly.
Really?
So yeah. Recently, I really love doing squats. I got better at it and better at it, and I took a little less weight and focused on form. And since then, my squat really exploded up, and I really started to enjoy that movement a lot. But at the start, it was always bench because it was like my strongest lift of those three lifts. I have to say I have a pretty developed chest and strong bench for compared to the other exercises. But there was also a time I really enjoyed the deadlifts when I got better at it and I got used to the movement and like I think every exercise has like its great benefits and its part that's enjoyable and it really changes. But interestingly, at the moment, probably I enjoy the bench least of all three. Yeah.
The love for deadlift is something I've actually seen happen with quite a few people, especially the ones who started out really scared about deadlifts, and then once they got the hang of it, they just started loving it a lot because it just feels nice, like and you
It
feel strong.
feels awesome, yeah.
So with all the stuff that you've done towards the 2 years, would you say that you ever want to like specialize in something? Say you want to go for powerlifting or go for a bodybuilding show. I'm sure you know like we've developed, not developed I say, but we've gotten a few more people who are pretty strong powerlifters and looking to get into powerlifting. And then there's also Ice, who's actually prepping for a bodybuilding show himself. Do you feel the need to like maybe be a powerlifter, bodybuilder, anything?
I played with that thought, but not at the time because on one way I can't really my main focus is still bodybuilding and not powerlifting, but still I enjoy lifting heavy on those three compound movements. So bodybuilding, I guess I won't ever do a show because like I watched the podcast episode with Ice and I'm like really impressed with him and with how hard it is also mentally and how he deals with all of that. But I don't think that I would want to put myself through this for a bodybuilding show because for me, I do the gym still mainly as a hobby and for myself. Powerlifting, I can see myself like trying one meet and just see how I would perform there, but also not like as professional or as a career or something like that. But well, maybe it changes. Maybe in 2 years' time, I'm a full prep bodybuilder or a full powerlifter. We'll see. But at the moment, not really.
Oh yeah.
I just enjoy going to the gym and lift the heavy stuff. That's at the moment what matters for me.
Yeah. Honestly, actually, now that I think about it, I'd say in terms of bodybuilding, people who do, who are willing enough to like prep and step on stage, are definitely a tad bit more committed to making it like a career or like a side career for them. Because I've, at least from an outsider's perspective, a lot of people who do go to meets on powerlifting and compete, a lot of the time is they're just hobbyists. I mean, they are powerlifters obviously, but they're not doing powerlifting as a full time career, and obviously it doesn't. Realistically, if anyone didn't know, bodybuilding, powerlifting don't actually pay really well unless you're like super high level and have tons of sponsors and tons of social media clout. Like it's really not gonna pay well. So a lot of times the people that you see do have other jobs and life outside of powerlifting and bodybuilding because they just need it to just actually have a life nowadays.
Yeah, I think the thing with bodybuilding is that if you really want to compete seriously at a good level, you gotta fully commit because it's not just the training in the gym. It's like that's when it takes like over your whole life.
Yeah.
Your diet has to be perfect on point. You get affected. Like if you get stage lean, like your hormonal levels get affected, your sleep gets affected, your concentration gets affected. Like it has such an influence also in your everyday life that if you really want to go for bodybuilding, you have to fully commit yourself. And I'm not quite sure how it works in powerlifting, but I guess it's not easier, but for powerlifting, it's it's easier to do it as a hobby and train hard and then try how you do than in bodybuilding because well, if you go to a bodybuilding show and you're not prepped at all, you like it's not really great. So I think just for bodybuilding, you really have to fully commit yourself into it. And I think especially after you've done a show and you know how it is and you're a little bit into it, um, staying there, staying committed, and like you think, okay, I made this whole prep for several weeks. I don't want to let myself go now. Like if I did this, I reached it, so I can build up on that. And that's, I think it's one of the reasons why for bodybuilding you really have to be extremely committed. So props to Ice for doing that and staying dedicated and committed to it. I'm really looking forward to the show.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure a lot of people are gonna look forward to that show. Hopefully, he'll get enough clips
Yeah.
and videos from that. Oh, just putting that out there. We're not dissing on powerlifting at all. Powerlifting is hard. Don't get us wrong, but I think
Yeah, of course.
objectively, if you were to compare powerlifting to strongman, bodybuilding, weightlifting, even CrossFit, I'd say at least between powerlifting and in addition arm wrestling, I say arm wrestling would be quote unquote easier because it's a lot simpler and straightforward to say. But honestly, even amongst fitness circles, I believe people would argue to say that powerlifting, in a sense, it's the easiest among the others since you always know what you're gonna do. You're gonna be doing squat, bench, deadlift. It's not like strongman where you don't know what you're gonna do unless you actually specifically look up the meet or the competition for the day. CrossFit is all over the place. We all know that. And bodybuilding is basically you have to train as hard as you can while you're basically starving yourself for weeks on end. So don't come here to us. We know powerlifting is hard, but we think that it's not as hard as these other sports, and I hope people can accept that. But we do
Yeah, I
respect
just think
powerlifters.
that powerlifting like has maybe a little less influence on your everyday life than like bodybuilding has. Like you get less influence. You have your training session, you still go hard, you still train heavy, and it's still hard to be great at powerlifting. But it has just less influence in your everyday life, in your mood, in your you're not starving yourself. You're not well, yeah. So I think that's really the difference.
And also, you don't have the whole posing sessions as well, because something people actually don't realize: posing in bodybuilding is actually harder than training itself. And
Yeah.
posing itself is its own training sessions. There are, if we follow Juji Mufu on his journey for his first show, he has dedicated workouts just to posing, and it exhausts him more than his actual workouts because the amount of focus and perfection you need to just get these poses down for hours and hours every single day, it's not easy. It's honestly really hard. So at the
Yeah.
very least, for compared to the other sports, you don't have an entire session, training session, just to pose. It's
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
crazy.
Posing is actually something that I want to get into it more. Like
Oh yeah,
I
you've actually
now
been
have
gotten
a
great at posing. Honestly,
yeah,
your pictures and everything, they've been looking
yeah,
great.
yeah, thank you. But I thought that now I have like a pretty decent body. I have 2 years of training behind me. I want to put it to use somehow. I don't want to prep for a bodybuilding show, but I still like love the lightness in posing and the elegance in posing. So that's really something that I just recently started to work on and
It shows.
found a lot of interest in. And I'm practicing, but it's hard. Like I have no idea how these bodybuilders make it look so easy and so light and elegant. And then I go for the mirror and try it, and it looks just like a little bit deformed and everything. But
It feels
yeah,
janky.
I really want to I really want to get the hang out of it. And well, we'll see. Maybe the posing inspires me to maybe still do a bodybuilding show, but I don't think so. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So, oh, I think, although I'm sure we're gonna still touch on fitness and your journeys as well, but the points of these episodes are to actually get to know the guests more. So, outside of fitness, who are you per se? Like, what do you do? What do you study, etc., etc.?
Um, I'm currently in the last semester at university as a software developer, computer scientist. I'm at my bachelor thesis, and after that, I'm going to do my master's degree, maybe, maybe not. That's still up to decide. So I'm really interested in everything computer related, computer science. I also love gaming, of course, and I'm very into other sports. Like I'm a big Chelsea Football Club fan.
Oh, okay.
Uh, it's a little bit hard at the moment because of the whole situation around Chelsea and the owner that has to sell the club. But yeah, I look a lot of games and I'm really invested in that. And also recently I started watching Formula One,
Oh,
um, which more or less because of the Netflix series of Drive to Survive. But I think once you understand the sport a bit, it's really really interesting, and it's more than just driving circles in 70 rounds. And yeah, I'm just a sports interested guy, computer interested guy. I'm currently I moved out a year ago from my parents. It was also like part of wanting to leave everything behind and start a new chapter in my life. And now I'm with my best mate as roommate and live in the capital of Switzerland.
don't tell exactly where, because you don't want to dox yourself on this. Oh,
No, no.
yeah. I actually didn't know that you were into computers. So, like, what specifically did you learn in your courses about computers? Is there like a specific thing you learn about computers, or you just learn everything in general?
um, well, my study is more into software development, so into programming and software systems. But of course, you get like a foundation about everything. And now I'm really start focusing on web development. That's also where I want to work later on. And yeah,
Oh,
so
so yeah, we've actually, interestingly enough, there's a bunch of people in your field as well who are really into fitness, like Dio, Wester, Pablo. They're all like more or less in the same field as you, and they're also into fitness as well. Interesting enough, must be something.
It was interesting. As in some chats, like they started having a discussion about programming languages and problems they had to solve, and it was really interesting. Like I'm in a fitness Discord talking about computer science with other gym goers. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I guess some fields actually do attract people who are more interested in the gym than other fields. Like it's kind of funny how I've noticed in at least so far, there's not a ton of STEM people who are into the gym. Weirdly enough, despite it being a related field, honestly, there's more people into computers actually, computers and engineering who are more into fitness than actual STEM students.
Yeah, that's funny.
So about computers, I actually want to keep asking more about computers. Sorry.
No problem.
Have you been keeping up with like the current trends in terms of hardware, like computer gear? Are you like massive? Since you're also into gaming, are you massively into the whole like red versus blue, and then Intel's new GPU and stuff? Are you into all that?
Less. I'm more into software, and I'm also not very up to date with the newest hardware features. And well, talking into gaming, I play on a PS4, so not on a PC. I only started recently a new game on the PC, but I somehow just can't get used to
Mouse and
the
keyboard.
controls with mouse and keyboard. It just my high-end coordination just doesn't work as well there. So I'm getting used to it, and maybe I'll play some more games on PC, but we'll see.
You ever planning on getting that PS5?
Um, I thought about it, but it was for a long time pretty hard to get.
Yeah.
Especially here, like when the store got new PS5, it was like in a couple of minutes they were sold out again. Um, and my PS4 is like the first version of the PS4 that came out, so it's like 9 years old, and
9 years already.
it yeah, I notice it. Like it's really loud and it's slow, and so it would be time for an upgrade. But recently, I didn't have a lot of time to really go back into gaming, and haven't had a game that really caught me so much. So I'm rating a bit. Maybe a little bit later on, I can definitely imagine getting the PS5.
Yeah,
Just for the graphics. I mean, it's insane how it looks nowadays.
and also honestly for me, what caught me the most was the haptic feedback. Like what they did with that controller, I really hope it catches on because if Xbox can copy that in more consoles and even PC, hopefully one day we'll find a way for PC to have similar haptic feedback. That'd be amazing. It would be game changing.
Yeah, I mean, it's really awesome. Like, it just gives you such a fuller experience with the haptic feedback and everything. And yeah, I'm talking about it. I want to buy a PS5 just after the episode, but yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully you can find some in stock. I think that's still hard to find.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So moving on from that, actually, I kind of want to ask you, like, how have your parents been? Like, I'm pretty sure, like, your parents were obviously you were still living with parents at the time, and I'm pretty sure they've noticed like your change from like that time when you just broke up, had a breakup, and then
Yeah.
you suddenly you were really down in the dumps, then you started improving. You especially physically, your body physically just started changing, looking better and better, and then you as a person getting just feeling more happier and everything. Like, how have your parents' reaction been to that?
Well, at first they were glad that I found something that like brought me joy and I had something to work towards too. And then like after, well, in general they were really supportive. Like they got my back and but like a year in training, they started, or especially my mom started telling me like, hey, you look kind of big now, maybe it's time to stop, it doesn't look that nice anymore, because it was slowly getting too much for her. And yeah, but I just said, yeah, well, you don't have to like it, I have to like it, right? But it's not
Yeah.
like she still supported me, but she kind of, especially during the time I was so obsessed, it was important to hear like to hear that it's too much for her, or she kind of pulled me back a bit when I went too far. So it was really great. And even now, like, well, they both my parents are really glad that I take great interest now in posing, because they say, well, at least he did all this for something now, and just didn't get bigger, bigger, bigger for nothing. But well, all in all, it's how parents are, right?
Yeah.
They always look out for you, they support you, but of course they find it a little bit too much. I think for a lot of people that aren't really into fitness, it can be too much, but in the end, it's what I like about myself and how I like it. So
Yeah, actually, I really like how you said that your mom telling you that kind of reel you back in, because my mom has also done the same thing where like I've gotten a bit too big for her liking, and so even though I don't feel that big, which is honestly it's great when you get okay. So we do tell us that people who aren't into fitness, their opinions, especially regarding training, aren't really all that important. But I think an aspect that we can come to accept is that the way we view ourselves is going to be completely different from people outside the gym, because obviously for us, like you said, like the moment you head into the gym, you'll never feel big enough ever again. It's never going to happen. And
yeah,
and then as you get into the gym, you also start surrounding yourself with more and more lifters, and more of the time these lifters are either really really bigger than you or really really stronger than you, and you start feeling like you're not big enough, you're not strong enough. But then you go out of that circle and you meet maybe your parents or like your friends or anyone else who's not in that circle, and it's like to them you're just monstrously big, or like you're insanely
yeah,
strong, even though like objectively in your circle you're nothing, or maybe not that much, or not that hard in terms of numbers or size or whatever. So then you kind of get this perspective where I've actually come really far, and from a normal person's perspective, I'm actually just plenty good enough for them, or even too much sometimes. And whether that's motivating or demotivating for people, for beginners, just realize that one day that will actually happen. If you keep training well, eating well, eventually you'll get people telling you that you're a bit too big. And whether you like
yeah,
that or not, I don't know what to say, man.
yeah. I think the thing with that is that, I mean, it's a tiny part of the population that really goes into the gym, like as we do, with the goal of getting big, of building muscle. And you most of the time just compare yourself to the other people in that circle. But if you compare yourself to the average Joe, like, you're miles ahead. But if you're only in that circle, you kind of sometimes lose that reference point to the general public, to the average Joe, like, well, compared to to average people, you are already so much further. But then you're in this circle and you see all these big and strong guys. It can be a little bit demotivating. So it's important to have something that, like, just sometimes gives you a hint or pulls you back in to say, hey, look at yourself, compare yourself to the people you see outside walking in the streets. You are way, way further than them, right?
Yeah, I mean, compared to the people on the streets, everyone who looks at you would probably say that you're a professional bodybuilder. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
such a massive
exactly.
difference. To normal people, you're pretty much a professional bodybuilder. You're like peak, like I want to look like him, like your celebrity physique, whatever. And sometimes you just gotta accept that. You know what? Maybe I do look good. Maybe I am strong. I'm not as strong as I
Yeah.
want to be. I may not look as good as I want, but I'm doing pretty good for myself. And I'm not some genetic freak who's like benching 500 pounds, natural or whatever. Like I don't have to be
Hmm.
that either. Like learn to be happy with what you've
Yeah.
achieved.
Yeah, I think one point that I saw that happen was like people talking about the body of an actor in a movie and how muscular that is and how perfect the body is, and I looked at him and thought, nah, it's average. Like for me, for us gym goers, his body is average.
Yeah.
But like the media and the people around said, oh, he looks so good, he's so in shape, and we were just like, yeah, could have a little bit more side delts, isn't this sleeve? Like you have just such a distorted
View.
perception of that.
Who was
So
it?
it's good to have something.
I think we were talking about Zac Efron at the time in the server or some. Like it was probably likely Zac Efron or who was it that played the Batman? Man, I don't remember these actors' name, but these superhero physiques and like yeah, like you said, like to the general public, these guys are like wow. But then you put those same physiques into the fitness space and like yeah, you can probably get that naturally in like a year or two. Well, it's not that impressive.
Yeah,
He's not actually that big. And
exactly.
then Zac Efron's Baywatch physique, sure he's lean, but dude's small. Like his arms are small, his shoulders are
Yeah,
small. Like
yeah,
it's not that special. Come on,
yeah, exactly.
it's kind of crazy when you think about
One,
it.
yeah, one thing I wanted to chop on also, going back to my parents, was that, and I'm really thankful for that. When I was like into that deep depression, they proposed for me to go talk to a professional, and they really persisted on that, and they also said they would pay it, and it would be no problem. And I then started to go to a professional and talked to a therapist, and that was really what helped me get out of that mental state. And so I'm really thankful that they supported me that way. And I just wanted to express that to everyone that's listening, that if you're struggling with mental health or with depression or something, talk to someone and don't just let it eat you from the inside. Talk to your parents, to relatives, or if you don't want to talk to people who know you, go talk to a professional, because it really helps a lot. And just because you talk about it, you talk to a professional or go see a counselor or a therapist, doesn't mean like you're weak or you're worse than someone else. Because actually, my current girlfriend put it in a really nice way. She said that people that admit their struggles and are willing to work on them and better them are way more stronger than the people that just ignore their struggles and eat it away and just show a strong front. So to anyone that's struggling, please talk to people, and even if you don't want to talk to people and you feel comfortable, you can also give me a DM on the Discord server. I have an open ear to talk about it, but just talking about it already helps a lot, and it can really be beneficial. So I just want to get that message out.
Oh, man, it's a really nice message too, man. I hope people who do watch this take it to heart. And shout out to Philip's parents for being so supportive. Like a lot of times, especially on media, like you see on like shows nowadays. I mean, I understand that there are people out there who are exactly as the media portray, where they don't come from a very supportive family. But a lot of the times, I feel like, especially as a teenager, you're overblowing the whole relationship with the parents thing because you're a teenager. The moment your parents don't agree with something, like you blow it out of proportions and whatever.
Hmm.
When a lot of times your parents really do care about you and they are very supportive of you. They just realize that sometimes the disagreements may not be portrayed in a way that you would have appreciated. Sure, they can be a bit nicer in the
Hmm.
way they portray it or be more communicative, but a lot of times they do come from a good place. And hopefully if your family situation may not be ideal, but if it's still good, then you should really appreciate that because they will be there for you. Sometimes you just
Yeah.
gotta maybe not scream at them and close the door on them very loudly and properly talk to them about it. A lot of times they can't be understanding and support you. So shout out to your parents, honestly, for being so supportive.
Yeah, thank you. Very well said.
And mentioning your new girlfriend, this is something I hope you're okay with this, by the way.
Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
talk about like your relationships, or at least your maybe not your like your intimate relationships, but more like your just how you have been socially from the time that you first started the gym after your breakup to now. How has that changed? How has that improved? You and your social circle with your relationships and everything.
Well, after the breakup and with the lockdowns and COVID, there was and the coming gym obsession. I had like no social life. Well, during the lockdown, of course, because you couldn't do anything. But then, because of the gym and the obsession, even after the lockdown ended and bars and pubs went open again, I still had no social life because, like, it was for me, it was work, gym, eat, sleep, repeat, nothing else. Like, people or friends asked me if I want to come get a beer with them. I said no because I have to get to bed early to have a good session tomorrow. I can't drink any beer because I was as strict and obsessive with it. And I think, um, yeah, of course, that wasn't really healthy. And I think social life really is needed and would probably help me in my situation back then. That's also why I said it doesn't hurt to have the occasional beer with friends at a barbecue or something. Like in 5 years' times, the beer won't make you look bigger or less big. It's about the consistency over time. So, and then I just, as I talked to the therapist, we made a deal to go out a bit more. Like even if it's just with my roommate on a Friday evening, go out for a beer or just to see that there are other people in life than just you and the people in the gym, and that with time that improved, and that also improved like the calorie tracking obsession, and especially after I met my current girlfriend, it improved again a lot. And she's very supportive about it, and yeah, it's awesome, it's amazing, and with that I'm getting more and more social again. But it's still sometimes I still struggle a bit with it because it was like so deep rooted. It takes its time to really get past that, but it's getting better, and social life really is crucial. So don't let the gym be the only thing you have. You can have your 2-3 hours a day for the gym, but also go out with friends, with your circle, because they also look out for you. And I even had two friends that they talked about me and said, "Hey, we noticed you're really depressed and you're not so well. Go, why not talk to a therapist?" And like even hearing it from friends that motivate you to do that, and knowing that they wouldn't judge you if you do that, helped a lot. So social life is really important, especially friends, and you should never let the gym be a priority over friends and family and social life, because in the end the gym is a hobby for most. Of course, if you do it professional, it's not, but even if you do it professional, you gotta have a life outside the gym, otherwise you're going mad.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sometimes people do get a bit obsessive with lifting the weights. And actually bringing back that rock quote where he said where the gym was his rock because the gym is always going to be where his base is. But at the same time, you can also think of it as that the gym's never going to go anywhere. Like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
gym's there. It's going to be there unless they go bankrupt or whatever in the business. But point is like the weights will always be there for you. So even if you don't have to see the weights every single day 6 times a week or whatever, like it'll be there when you go to the gym. They'll be there. They'll always be there for you to lift, pick up, and put down. So spending some time off is honestly it's even necessary. Even that's why good programs have you do deloads where you either
Yeah,
lower stuff or just completely miss the gym entirely for a week just to relax and chill out.
yeah. I noticed that also that um, like with time, if you go consistently to the gym every day or like 6 days a week, sometimes it's good to have a break from the gym in as a whole. Like take some days where you don't think about the gym, where you don't go to the gym, because I noticed that I started also to lose a bit of motivation. Like if you push yourself every day hard and go to the gym every day, I and then I never took a break. During my obsession, I really never took a break, even in the deloads. Well, I did some sort of deload, but
Guilty.
I then suddenly I was sick and I couldn't go to the gym at all. I got COVID. It was in December, I think, and it was at first really hard not to go to the gym. But in the end, looking back, I have to say, well, it was so good to just have like I think the lockdown or the isolation was 10 days back then, and just have 10 days not going to the gym at all. Also, like it increased my motivation, and I enjoyed going to the gym much more again after it than before. So sometimes that break from the gym as a whole, it is necessary. And especially in those times, you need to have other interests in life because, yeah, if you're not going to the gym and you just sit at home thinking about the gym, it's not really a break from the gym, right?
Yeah. Actually,
Especially mentally.
oh yeah, especially that mental aspect. Actually, I've I think I've
Um,
said that several
I
times to several.
don't hear you.
Oh,
Oh,
I think your battery
just
died. Yeah, it must have been the battery.
a moment.
Oh, that's fine. I'll wait. Take some time off. Yeah, in case anyone hasn't noticed, these things aren't exactly professionally planned, but I feel like keeping it this way is a lot better because then you guys, the viewers, can have a more intimate touch with the guests because we're just normal people. We're not like professionals in any god. Maybe some of us are, but even professionals are still real people. And I believe you're back. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, even though people have headsets that run out of battery, so it's plugged in and everything's all right again.
Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Stuff like this is it's not even a big deal. Like I honestly think this, and I want to keep it this way as an approach to anyone who comes on, and that keeping it real. Like you said, social media distorts so much, so many things that you don't even know what's real and what's not anymore. And like this is real. Like people do sometimes forget to charge their earphones, or they don't look the way they do in pictures 24/7. Even Chris Bumstead doesn't look that way 24/7. People gotta realize that. But then bringing back to what we were talking about earlier, this is something I've actually started having to give advice on. For some people, is that when you go do something and you do something hard, it doesn't have to be the gym. It can be work. It can be a passion, hobby, any other hobby besides weights. But when you keep doing, when you're so obsessed with it that you do it 6 times a day, 6 times a week, and each session is something that you do purposely with full intent, full motivation, everything, you're gonna start hating it. And
Yeah, it
ironically,
gets draining with time.
yeah, it gets really draining. And I've actually started telling people that if you haven't started hating the gym, you haven't trained hard enough and you haven't trained long enough. Because eventually it'll happen. If you actually do train hard and you do train for long enough, for a long enough time frame, you will start hating the gym. And I'd say that once you started hating the gym, I think that's a good place to know where, how do I say this? You've kind of earned that break. In a say, not earned it, but more like people who get so obsessed with the gym, they said, I'm going to go to the gym every single day, or I'm going to push pull legs for months on end. Like, yeah, buddy, sure. Like, you'll realize soon enough that no matter how much you love the gym or how motivated you are with the gym, you're going to eventually start hating it. And I think that's a key point where people start to realize that maybe it is time to reel back in. And then the best part is that not only is the deload good for you, like in terms of just recovery, your muscles, your central nervous system, just in terms of recovery, but also like the mental fog from just training consistently all the time and just trying to keep everything on point all the time, that break, that week long, maybe even sometimes 2 week long deloads, it makes you love the gym even more. Like you said, like after that break, you feel like, well, since now that you're finally able to relax and take a break, you start missing it again. That's when you can actually enjoy it again. Because man, I miss lifting weights. Then when you go back in, like you have fun again, you enjoy it again, and it's great.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly. One thing, especially the mental part, I think it's important that like when you go to the gym, you always try to beat the reps from previously or just to improve from last time to have like a progressive overload. And sometimes for me, it gives kind of a logbook anxiety. Like I look at the stuff that I plan to do today, like, oh, I should lift this and that weight for 5 reps. And I really get anxious, like, that's scary, that weight for 5 reps.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not sure
definitely.
if I can do that. And it's like the mental pressure to always increase and do more, and the anxiety that comes, I have to beat last time. Last time was a struggle. Now I have to beat what I did last time. So like this mental break from just doing a deload, doing less weight in the gym or not going to the gym at all, like it resets the whole stress and anxiety about it, and then you can slowly restart again, and the motivation is high again. And as you said, if you don't go to the gym for a week, you start to miss it, and you so much look forward to training heavy again and being able to push yourself again after a week of not doing it. So that's really important.
Yeah, because you've seen the beginners that we get sometimes, and I'm sure you when they do their own program thing, and to them it seems perfect, but then you look at it like, how the hell are you gonna run this for weeks? Like you have like maybe
Yeah,
7 different chest exercises, all heavy or all like high reps, and like, yeah, buddy, this isn't gonna work. Because and oftentimes sometimes they're a bit too stubborn because they're young and they're motivated. They think that, yeah, I can do this, I can totally do this, bro. Like, yeah. So how about you do this for a bit of time and then see how much you either hate the gym or how much you're not able to push yourself simply because you're just putting on too much. And then
yeah,
once they start realizing
exactly.
that they actually can't keep this up and they start hating themselves, yeah, see, now this is why we tell you guys to go on an actual program so that you can,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly like I said.
I think also that's one thing that stops a lot of beginners and people from really doing progress. Like you start with the gym, you have this big motivation, you overdo it with the program, you do so many exercises, you go to the gym without a rest day, and as soon and then it's a given that someday you're going to lose the motivation. You can't push yourself every day that hard. And then they lose the motivation. Then they stop going to the gym. And then they have a break for like a month or two. And then when the motivation's back there, they restart with the gym for a couple of times, but they don't stay consistent. And I think that's where a lot of progress is being left on the floor and not taken with, because it's just so much better if you have a pre-made program that's taking care of everything. Of course, maybe sometimes you have a rest day and you really feel like going to the gym, but take that rest day and you'll be motivated for much longer. You have much more progress and you'll come much further than doing it the other way around.
Oh yeah, but people don't realize just how much mental pressure it is that, I mean, you're not quote unquote PRing, but technically you are, because just because it's not a new 1 rep max PR doesn't mean you're not PRing. Like just from session to session, week to week,
Yeah,
you are like adding a bit more weight or a bit more volume. That is technically a PR per se, and like you have to think about
exactly.
that.
PRs don't have to be new 1 rep maxes. I mean, ideally you hit PRs every session because or at least in bodybuilding, when building muscle, you wanna beat what you did last time. You wanna have that progressive overload. So technically you do PRs every day or every week. So even if you're not going for a one rep max, you still push yourself, and that's still mentally draining, and
Oh yeah, totally.
you will need a break
Oh, yeah,
someday, somehow.
it's so mentally draining. And here's the thing, to you listeners out there, and especially beginners, that break will happen, and it'll happen either one, you realize that you need to take a break and you accept it and you actually take a break, or you break. So either your body breaks on the spot, like you get injured and you have to take a break, you're forced to take a break, or you be smart and you actually take a break willingly, or your body is going to force you to a break. So pick one. Pick one or the
Yeah, I
other.
think it's also interesting that like the breaks, they improve your gym performance. Like if you take one step back, you can go two steps further, because most of the time after deload, I came back so much stronger than I was before the deload. And that's just something that people, especially beginners, got to realize, that sometimes you need that break also performance-wise to be able to perform better after the deload again. It doesn't mean that if you take a week break, you have a week less progress. No, like studies have shown that a week break can really increase performance.
Yeah, totally. Also, with how much time and effort you put into the gym, and obviously you have become a source of motivation for a ton of people on the server. Like pretty much people do know you, for the guy who's made a ton of progress, and people know your efforts that you put in. But would you say that you look up to anyone? It doesn't have to be anyone from the server. Maybe it be an influencer from that you follow or whatever. That who would you say is your motivation and your inspiration?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I look up to a lot of people for different reasons, like some for the work ethic they put in, some for just how they pull through with everything. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that Chris Bumstead is kind of a inspiration. I really enjoy him and just how open he is about everything with his vlogs and YouTube channel, and how open he talks about his struggles, that even a three-time classic physique Olympian, Mr. Olympia, has struggles. Yeah, he's definitely a big inspiration. But also like people on the Discord, I really look up to, like Symbol for his age, and like his knowledge about training and everything is just like immense for his age. That's really awesome. Also Ice with the bodybuilding prep, David with the deadlift numbers that he pulls. Like I think these people, and being in touch with them, people seeing them on the Discord channel, really motivates me a lot to better myself and kind of be like them.
Nice. That's really nice to hear. Well, honestly, I can tell you for sure that they definitely say the same thing about you. Like the work ethics that you put in, especially like you call it an obsession, and yeah, it was an obsession with how you were with calorie tracking and everything. But for other people, they say that's dedication or like that's discipline. Because even some people who do get obsessed to that level, even though they're obsessed like that, they can't even put in the same, how do I say, the same work ethic that you did in your dedication.
Yeah,
Because some people
thank
call
you.
it an obsession, but then they can't even track calories, and they say like, oh, I love the gym, bro, and everything, but they can't even do the things that you did.
I think there's a fine line between being dedicated and being obsessed. It's really close together. Of course, to be obsessed, you have to be dedicated. And maybe to be dedicated, you have to somehow be a little bit obsessed with it. But it got, I think, the line, or I went over the line as soon as my mood only depended on my gym performance. Like if I had a bad session, I'd be pissed the whole day. I'd be sad. I'd struggle mentally. And if that starts to happen, I think that's like really the point, from dedication to unhealthy obsession, because you can be dedicated, and even if you're as dedicated and have the biggest work ethic, you are gonna have bad gym sessions, and they're just part of the journey. Even Chris Bumstead has bad gym sessions. That's just how the human body works. But that shouldn't affect like your whole mood and your whole week and your whole mental state. And as soon as that happens, it I think that's the point where it turns like into an unhealthy obsession.
Yeah. Oh, that's honestly that's really really wise of you to say it that way and actually putting it in that very simple way because I wouldn't have been able to think about that phrasing it that way myself. 'Cause I'm gonna say it flat. I'm gonna steal that where
No problem.
the fine line between obsession and dedication is your mood. If your whole day is affected by one bad performance over it, then that's obsession. If it's not, and you
Yeah,
can move on with it, that's dedication.
yeah.
That's very clever.
I mean, in the end, you're not gonna have perfect sessions every day. That's just not how it works. That's part of the process. That's part of the journey, and that should more motivate you to do better the next time rather than pulling you down and doubt or leading to self-doubting and all those stuff. So that's really important.
So speaking about struggles and like bad days, I'm sure you've had bad days. Like, do you remember any of your bad days during your whole journey? Maybe a bad lift.
Yeah, a lot of them. Like I had a lot of um, well, especially when I was as obsessed when I didn't hit my numbers that I planned to. Um, I really struggled to move on with that, and um, but as I said before, in the end, it's part of the journey. Like I have bad days. I'm sure everyone on the server has bad lifting days, and that doesn't mean that you don't do progress. And actually, once I had such a bad day that I thought about quitting the session, just in general, and then I still pulled it through, and I talked to Symbol after that. It was during my time when I trained in the Attic, and he put it great. He said that even though you had a bad session, you still finish your workout, and that's more than a lot of people would do. And that shows that you still made progress, and that shows that you're more dedicated than most people because most people would have quit then. So even if you have a bad session, even if you don't get your lifts, even if the weight feels heavier, you can still finish the session, and you're still making progress that way.
Yeah, that's Simple is like way more mature than his age, man. That
Yeah,
kid's
like
crazy.
he's like wise. He has the mental age of an 80-year-old from the things he says, like in a positive way.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, but I do like how he's a bit more mature than most, but him being 15, 16 now, you can still tell that he's a 16-year-old in some aspects. Right? It's kind of
Yeah,
it's nice to see that like you're
yeah. I
young.
think it's especially that age. It's important to not be too mature and
Yeah,
still like
have fun.
embrace the child within, like and live your life as a child.
Oh yeah, totally. Sometimes it's like, being teenagers, like we were teenagers as well. Like I'm sure you can remember your own moments as a teenager where you get you get too caught up in certain things. Like you're either too childish or you get too caught up in being mature because you want to like be seen as a grown up, be seen as a mature. But then you get too caught up in it that you don't have fun anymore. It's a fine balance as well. It's a struggle.
Yeah, I think it's also important to keep that child even when you're not a teenager anymore, even if you're an adult and older. I mean, having that child and being childish in some moments, it's just great. So you, there's no reason to lose that child inside yourself.
Yeah, actually, I don't remember where I heard this from, but it was a really good thing that I learned where it more or less went like this. I'll be paraphrasing also, and they said that the true sign of maturity is knowing when to be mature and when to be childish.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah,
That's very well said.
especially as an adult. Yeah.
Hmm.
So speaking of adulting, I'd say that since you've been 2 years, sure you've only been going from 22 to 24, but I'm sure your views on yourself, your relationships, life in general has changed a lot. What do you think? What would you say that's in general that your life views have changed since 2000, since you were 22 and now 24?
It changed a lot. I'm honestly I'm a completely different person. I think especially with the gym and the depression I went through, it made me more mature in a way. But on the other hand, how do I put this? Yeah, I'm a completely different person now. I learned to. I think that's the biggest difference. That I learned to appreciate the small things. To find joy in the small things. With that goes also along like being childish in some moments and just enjoying that, because otherwise, well, yeah, it would be boring as fuck. Sorry for the expression. But yeah, all in all, it changed a lot. I'm a completely different person. I have different priorities in life now. And even like in the last year, from when I was as obsessed to now, where I realized like, yeah, the gym is nice, the gym is cool, but the gym isn't everything. Like you, to make progress, you don't have to do everything perfectly fine. Like you're still gonna make tons of progress if not everything is perfect, not every exercise is perfectly chosen, or you never drink a beer or anything like that. Like you're still making progress, and you have to enjoy life that way a little bit more when you start to, or you are able to enjoy life much more when not everything is about the gym, if you
And
have
when everything's
different
not,
interests.
oh, and like everything's
Yeah.
not taken too seriously. Give me a moment. There's something, like on my side where I'm seeing you. Your camera looks perfectly fine, but it feels like on the capture it's a bit saturated. And I'm trying to figure out why. Could it be that your
It's
camera settings changed a bit? Mm.
I have no idea about the camera settings because it's just like a not so good webcam that I put on the screen.
Yeah.
Um,
I hope people are gonna be okay with this because it is a bit jarring on my end as well. But oh well, I mean, most of the time these podcasts people just put them on and then listen to them in the background. But even then,
yeah,
like we said earlier, this is all real people. Like we're not we're not professionals, and we don't have to be on this. This is again just for
exactly.
a simple project that I decided to put up to continue from Annihilation and to Peace stuff to get the community to learn more about itself, because I know that there's a bunch of people who know you guys, and there'll be a ton of other people I hope to bring on as well. And the community knows each other, but I feel like we don't know each other enough, or at least like, how do I say this? They know you. They definitely know RLC. They know Philip, but they don't know what you've been through, your own views on training, how much you've changed. Like people only see the progress pics, people only see the PRs, but everyone goes through their own personal struggles, and they're still struggling even now. And sometimes I think people should know that. Like you said, like Chris Bumstead, even 3 times Mr. Olympia, classic physique, he goes through struggles. And if people don't watch his videos or learn more about him, people are never gonna know about it. They think that his life is perfect. Him and that mustache and that perfect physique. Like what in his life could go wrong, right?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you.
So we are like, is there anything new maybe that you want to learn more about your training? So as you've obviously learned a lot and everything. Maybe have you ever been interested in maybe not pursuing per se, but like trying out some certain strongman exercises, maybe calisthenics like weighted pull-ups, weighted dips, rings, or even weightlifting like snatch and clean and jerk?
Um, well, I'm fascinated by calisthenics. I don't think that I'm really gonna pursue it much, but like when I see people, or like in the Discord server Rise Lord, doing all these exercises that just look like physically impossible and unhuman, yeah, that's really fascinating. Maybe I trained up to now in more of a bodybuilding style. And I could see myself like trying a powerlifting program once, like prepping for a meet without actually going to the meet, but with peak, or get a little bit more knowledge and interest in how that works with peak weeks, and how you program that, because up to now it's really mainly just about bodybuilding and how to train, or my knowledge is pretty about how to train to build muscle, but not really strength focused. So that's really a point that I'd like to go deeper into in the near future.
Oh, interesting. And like actually, when you said that you were training back in the athlete, you had like a weighted vest, right? So what was your pull-up PRs or like dips PRs if you had the opportunity to do bodyweight dips or anything, weighted dips?
Um, Back then, I did like 12 pull-ups with my body weight, and with the weighted vest, it was like 15 kg added. I did like 6 or something like that. I'm not really sure. I still do pull-ups now in my training split, and it's still at 12. I'm kind of stuck at 12, but I think, especially with pull-ups, it's hard to track progress because I'm doing them now at a different rate than back then. I'm like 10 kg heavier, so technically it's with 10 more kgs. And dips, actually, I did weighted dips, and I did like 15 weighted dips at 92 kg body weight with additional 10 kg. That's, I think, my PR in dips.
Oh, nice. That's actually nice. How have you been liking them? Like dips and weighted pull-ups. Like when you did do them, like do you
Um,
like them a lot?
I like the dips a lot. At the start, I think a lot of people experience that while doing dips. At the start, I felt like my sternum was really, it kind of felt uncomfortable, and at the start, it took some time for it to get used to and to not really hurt in a way. But once that was sorted out, I really enjoy it, and I think especially on dips, you can so easily go to failure, and pushing yourself for that last rep, and that just feels awesome. And pull-ups, it's the same. It's a very great exercise. I really enjoy it. That's why I still have it in my program. And yeah, it's really awesome.
Yeah, and bringing it back to dips, I do feel sorry, massively sorry for people who structurally cannot do dips simply because of maybe the way their sternums were developed or their clavicle or whatever. I really do feel bad because I feel like dips, there's a certain kind of pump and a certain kind of pec stretch that you can get on dips that you just don't get anywhere else. I'm sure you can
Yeah,
attest to that.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
it feels otherworldly, especially when you get a really good pec stretch and it just makes the stretch feels insanely good, and then the pump also feels insanely good. It feels like your chest is just massive.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
So actually, mentioning about body parts, do you have a favorite body part of yours? Like so far that you've developed in these 2 years, is there a part of yourself, maybe rear delts or whatever, that you really like, that you think have
Um,
developed really well?
I think my chest is definitely a strong point.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can say that I have pretty good chest insertions and chest genetics. Um, so that's really one of my favorite body parts. And more and more, or at the start, my back was really a weak point compared to the other body parts, but more and more I start to like it. I put a little bit more emphasis on the back in my training, and it starts to catch up. And the more it catches up, the more I start to like the back as well.
Oh, nice. Also, I was actually half expecting you to say legs since your squats has been really popping off recently. So, what do you think about your legs? Like, have they been really well? Like quads, your
Yeah,
hamstrings?
like my legs are actually pretty big. And on one hand, that's pretty awesome. Like, I love how my squat went up, and I love having big legs, but the downside is I struggle so much with finding pants that are wide
Yeah.
enough on my quads, and narrow
you've-
enough on my waist because I have
This
a
is
pretty
fun.
small waist.
Yeah.
And I just like now I have pants that are like 3-4 numbers too big to fit my legs, and then my mom just makes the waist a little bit smaller, and that's at the moment the only way around it. So that's why legs are like a little bit of a love-hate relationship. But like as a bodybuilder, or as legs, or the musculature in the legs in general, yeah, they're good. I really like them, but as I said, it's brings a lot of struggles with pants. With
Yeah, and it's too bad there's not many, how to say, manufacturers. I mean, there are a few out there who do make pants specifically for people who train, where the waist and the pants itself can expand to accommodate for the quads. But yeah, even when I was starting out, and when I started out, I was pretty much strictly bodyweight because I didn't have a lot of resources and everything. So it was just bodyweight squats, bulk gas, split squats, and then pistol squats and everything. And even then, even on bodyweight squats, when my legs started to grow, I had an moment because my school pants couldn't fit. Like, how am I supposed to go to school when my own pants couldn't fit? And it's not like I could just go out and buy some new ones because it was a school day and we had school in the morning. Like, oh no, it's like I kind of had to like
oh,
really find a fine point where I could train my legs, but also not get them too big. And at the point, my parents weren't all that supportive of training because, and I'm sure a lot of people go through this as well, where your parents very literally support you very little or aren't supportive of all of you training because of fitness myth and everything about height, about injury and everything. So they're very misinformed about it all. So they weren't encouraging about it, and then like having to come up to your parents saying that we need new pants because they don't fit anymore. It's kind of like, yeah, it was kind of hard during those times.
yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, like shout out to
But
your mom, man. Like your mom sounds like she's a great person to get to know,
yeah,
man.
she really is. She really is. I'm really lucky to have her, and she's been there the whole journey. So it's it's great to have such parents. I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, totally. Oh, something about body parts actually. So did you know that people who do see your progress pics a lot of the times, well, actually, let's have you guess which body part do you think they most admire whenever they see that trademark progress pic of yours?
I'd say probably the apps.
Yep. A lot of the times people like always come and ask us, say like, well, what was your nutrition at the time, or like how do you have like such great abs and everything? And I think this is the perfect time to ask you, the person himself, like, what do you think about your abs? Like, what do you think about ab training? What do you think about your abs? Are they overrated or anything?
Well, one thing is that on that picture, I'm not even that lean. It was like at the end of my bulk. The reason why my abs were still as visible was on one hand because of the lightning, and on the other hand is the I have pretty good ab development because abs are like every other body part, right? You can train them. Of course, you have to be lean enough to reveal them, but that shouldn't discourage you to train them, because when you train them, your abs get bigger naturally, and if they are bigger, you're gonna see them more clearly and at a higher body fat percentage. And um, I actually also, when I did the running right after the breakup, I every second day I went on a run, and the other day I just did like some 15-minute ab workout by some calisthenics guy, um, and that's just like, if you really want defined abs, of course, be lean enough, but also train them. And don't skip them after a leg day or whenever you have planned them, because like any other muscle group, they can grow and it will look better when they do grow.
Oh,
So that's really the secret. Train the abs.
yeah, and I say I'm a bit guilty of that as well because I always do kind of skip ab training because I'm too be told ab training is boring. Sure, it's like
Yeah,
very
it
fun
is.
in the beginning. It's very novel, especially when you can see them and you're like, yeah, I look good. But then, like over time, as you mature in your training, a lot of times these isolations, these small body parts like arms, forearms, traps, abs, like the isolations that you do for them, they're not that fun. They're pretty boring, honestly. And like,
Yeah, it is.
so like, how do you feel about your abs now? Like so far, you've managed to not only get bigger and stronger, but also be relatively lean. Like you can still see your abs and everything. So I know that you say that you don't think much about them, but would you ever bulk up to a point where you completely lost them? Would you be comfortable with that? Would you want that?
I don't think so. Like my stopping point in a bulk is always the moment that I can't see my abs anymore. That's like, okay, now I gotta cut down again. But it's just because like I feel uncomfortable when you don't see them. I think I feel kind of fat in a way. So that's really just the point where normally I stop my bulk and then cut down again. Um, yeah, so I couldn't imagine like bulking over that point just because of the self-image rise. So yeah.
Don't worry, dude. One day, I will convince you to go over that point. It's a mission I'm
All right, all
making.
right. If I'm big enough, then maybe. Like, if my bulk happens to be over the winter, we can talk about it. But up to now, it always happened to be over the summer, and
I'll tell
yeah,
I'll give you a warning beforehand. Once you've gotten that big, like say when you can't see your abs much anymore, not that they're completely gone and you've got a bubble gut or anything, but like you're not as lean as you are. But once you've gotten that big, I'll tell you one thing. One, I'll tell you several things. It's addicting to be that big because you suddenly all your clothes and everything just feel a lot bigger. People will notice how big you are in clothes and everything.
yeah,
And then once you start leaning down, you'll start feeling small again. So, yeah, fair warning. You might not want to have abs anymore because you'll start feeling small again.
yeah. So we will see. It will be another experience, another thing to learn from. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh, while you're here, actually, this is something I've been meaning to teach around in the server as well, and I know that a bunch of other people have started picking up on it. But okay, let's start out with what's your current height? Like, how tall are you in feet and centimeters?
In centimeters, I'm 190 centimeters, and that's like 2 feet and 3 inches, a little bit less than 2 feet and 6 feet and 3 inches,
2 feet. Yeah,
not 2 feet. It's like I think correctly it would be 6 feet and 2 and 3/4 inches,
okay, six
around
feet.
that.
Yeah, okay, so 6 feet and two and 192 centimeters, right?
No, 190 centimeters.
Oh, 190 centimeters. Okay, and your current body weight is what is it right now?
93 kg.
Okay, 92 kg.
So
So this is something that I've recently picked up on myself earlier last year. When I was just looking through weight classes of competitors and everything, and this is something I think that we should start teaching the fitness community and getting this idea out that a few people have actually come and asked me like how do I just know what body weight people should be at, right? Because I just asked them for their height and their current body weight, and then just tell them you should be at this X body weight, X body weight, X body weight. Well, the way I've started realizing this is that again, like people say, weight classes are just height classes in disguise. If the weight class is 73 kilograms, some guy who's like your height at 73 is going to look completely different from someone who's my height. It's like 5'4", 5'5" at 73 kilograms, right? So it
yeah,
really is just weight classes really are just height classes in disguise. So based on that, I've actually come up with a loose method. It's not a formula or anything. It's just more so like intuition, where someone at X height, like your height, should be at X body weight to look a certain way. Especially say, let's say your height, for example, 190 at 92 kilograms, more or less.
yeah,
If someone your height were to come to us in the server and say that, oh, I'm the exact same body weight as you, like 90 something, and how do I lose my love handles or that? Like from that alone, you can tell, okay, this guy doesn't have a lot of muscle. Why?
Mhm.
Because if he did have a lot of muscle, then his being at his height and at that body weight, he should be looking fairly good or like really good, like you, for example. Like you're the exact same height as him. You're the exact same body weight, but you look massively different from them. So from that alone,
Mhm.
you can tell that this person doesn't have a lot of muscle. Because say someone my height who's 5'5" and 75 kilograms, they should be very muscular relatively, or like me and Moise who are like more or less the same height. Like Moise is my height as well, and he's I think 83, 85 kilograms right now, and we all know how bare mode that guy looks,
Massive,
like how
yeah.
massive he looks. So if you were that height and that body weight and you came into the server asking how to build muscle or how to lose then you can pretty much tell, like, okay, this person doesn't have a lot of muscle, because if they did have a lot of muscle, they wouldn't be asking how to look big, how to build muscle, right?
Exactly.
Right. So this is something I've been wanting to get out to the fitness world on, um, because it cuts out a lot of processes. Like you don't have to see how the person looks or whatever. You can just, based off experience and based off how the amount of people in the fitness community who you've seen at X height, X body weight, X height, X body weight, X height, X body weight, you can kind of give advice based on just intuition alone and just based on past knowledge that you've seen from other people. How if you're this height and you're this body weight and you don't look jack, then you need to build muscle. Like forget about losing weight, forget about losing your stupid love handles over there. You don't have fat to lose. You just need to build muscle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to assess that. Yeah, I think one time in the Discord I encountered a similar situation where I posted a progress picture. Someone asked me about my height and weight. I told them, and they said, "How can that be? I'm the same height and same weight, but I don't look as much as good as you. That can't be. Your numbers must be false." So no, I mean it's just the differences in the muscle mass, right? Like you
Exactly.
can be the same height, you can be the same weight, but look completely different.
Uh,
So it's not really bound, or how good you look isn't bound to a certain weight, and isn't also bound to a certain weight and height.
exactly. Body composition, guys. It is, if for those of you who don't know, composition literally means what that particular mass is made out of. So if you have a very solid muscle to fat ratio, you're gonna look completely different from someone who has a more fat compared to their muscle ratio. Like exactly like that. Like people come in like that, like how come you're like the exact same stats but we look completely different? The answer's simple: just build more muscle.
Yeah,
Honestly,
exactly.
yeah. Most of the time for you beginners especially, the answer is build more muscle. That's pretty
Yeah,
much it.
and I think a lot of people then say like, okay, but if I build more muscle, I'm gonna also build a little bit of fat. How am I supposed to look leaner? And I mean, in my progress picture, you can clearly see that I look much leaner after a year, even though I didn't lose any weight. I just gained weight. And I mean, if you have a 100 kg person that has, let's say, 20 kg of fat, so 20% of body fat, and that person adds like 20 kg of muscle, he still has those 20 kg of fat, of course, but those 20 kg aren't 20% of the weight anymore. So the body fat got lower, or the body fat percentage got lower when
Relatively.
building more muscle. So he looks leaner because the fat is spread out over more muscle. So you look leaner even though you're not losing fat. So that's why if you do a good lean bulk, you will stay more or less lean. You will still look lean, but just much better because you have much more muscle underneath.
Yeah, honestly, man, it's I really hope this dies one day where people are just so afraid of fat. Like even on a lean, but like you're getting more muscle, and like but then the reason why people are afraid of gaining muscle is because they'll also gain fat along with it. Like it doesn't make sense. I really hope one day we
Yeah,
can get rid of that notion amongst the fitness community.
but that day may be long, long in the future, but we'll hope it comes soon.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be a long time until we get rid of that. Actually, speaking of like these fitness myths, I'm sure you've fallen for some. Like, what are some fitness myths that you used to believe in, and that you've learned later on that are completely false?
Let me think about it. Well, I kind of fell into the myth that I thought that with just especially at the beginning, that with app training alone, I can lose my fat on my apps. Like you can spot reduce fat. So if I do app training, I will lose the fat, especially on my apps. And if I do arm training, I will lose the fat on my arms. But we all know now that that isn't possible. You can't spot reduce fat. You can just bring the body fat percentage down in general. But it's like now that I know that, and I see like YouTube videos of people saying how to lose your belly fat with these app exercises. No, that just doesn't work like that. But I was guilty of that too. That's also a reason why I started only doing app training when I went on these runs, because I thought, I do app training, I lose the fat on my abs, and I'll be shredded. But doesn't work that way.
How about any nutrition myths? I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure a lot of us, no matter how detailed our background is, unless you're like really a nutritionist or whatever, pretty sure all of us have fallen for some nutrition myths. So, like, any you've fallen for?
Well, to be honest, before I started training, my nutrition was really bad. Like my nutrition was mainly chips and fast food and stuff, and I kind of built the knowledge from there, step by step. But there are, of course, some myths that I fell for. Especially at the start, well, you hear in the diets always carbs are bad, carbs make you fat, but in the end, no, carbs don't make you fat. No macronutrient makes you more fat than another macronutrient. It's just like the calorie intake over calorie expenditure. So I really also thought at the beginning that, okay, I have to eat less carbs, or but in the end, carbs is what fuels your workout. So if you want to perform well at the gym, you need to get your carbs in.
Oh yeah, and then I imagine how many people would like have their minds blown if they realize how many carbs Chris Bumstead eats, both on the prep
Yeah,
and like normally. Like, dude eats a lot of
yeah,
carbs.
yeah. I think one thing that really blew my mind was how simple and easy it is to, or theoretically, to lose weight. That it's really just how much calories do you eat versus how much calories you burn. And just that balance, if you want to lose fat, that balance has to be, or you have to burn more than you eat. And that's just about it. Of course, you can make it easier with eating different foods, not processed foods, and foods with a lot of fiber and stuff. But in the end, it's really that simple. And I always thought like, oh, it's like such a complex formula to lose weight, but it's not really that complex. It's
Yeah.
pretty simple. And I had also a lot of people that came to me, like people I know, that asked, how can they lose weight? And when I told them, well, just eat less than you burn, they thought, oh, there has to be something more in it. It can't be that simple. Yes, it can be that simple.
I mean, it is that simple,
And
honestly.
yeah, and you can make it easier for yourself if you have a high protein diet, because protein also satiates a little bit. If you have a lot of fibers and micronutrients and unprocessed food, you won't be as hungry then. But in the end, if the sole goal is to lose fat and not build any muscle, you could even lose muscle if you only drink beer. As
Yeah.
long as it's technically, not that it's healthy or that someone should do that, but as
Yeah.
long as it's less calories than you burn, even that will lose you muscle. So
And lose fat.
it's not that, that's what I meant, of course. So it's not that complicated.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes. As someone who's also learning the sciences, who's in a STEM field, the biological process behind it all is very complicated. But none of that means jack shit. in practice. None of that. All that complication of lipoproteins, lipids, the way your fat cells, adipose tissues, the Krebs cycle, whatever, all that means jack shit in practice, ladies and gentlemen. Please understand that. It doesn't matter how deep you want to dive into it. In practice, you're not gonna pay attention to any of that. It's literally just eat less than you burn. Eat less than you burn.
Eat less than you burn. So all those diets are good, but you can't say, yeah, well, this diet is better because you eat less carbs and you lose more fat with eating less carbs. No, it's just that you eat less in general.
Yeah. So we've touched on nutrition and training, and like, there's so much about you that I'm sure a lot of people want to know. Because I mean, you're RLC, not in this. So like, people know a bit about your journey. People know that you work hard. Like, is there anything you want to say to anyone out there, or like maybe like closing remarks, advice, or inspirations that you want to say to any of the viewers, beginners, anyone?
Just keep working hard and get your protein.
Oh, finally, someone says yes. The closing remark: get your protein.
Yeah, get your protein.
And remember, it also depends. It depends.
It depends, exactly.
So, fortunately, we've pretty much run out of time. Honestly, I really wish we could have made this a bit longer, but life calls. We do have life outside the server. Contrary to popular belief, just because I'm also a lot on the server a lot of times, I actually do have a life. I am not a Discord gremlin, as some people would say. We do have lives outside fitness, outside of the server, and we have to get to them now. So honestly, I just want to say like thanks again, big massive thanks to Picturefit for even just creating this community, and for having great people come into it, and for cultivating such a great community with a lot of tons of great people who've gone through so much and achieved so much. And honestly, none of this would have been possible without your Picturefit. So thank you so much for all of this. Thank you to Philip RLC for being on here. Thanks so much for like just agreeing to be on the show. I know it's not something that you normally do, and it's out of your comfort zone per se. But honestly, thank you for like going out here and just talking about yourself, man.
Well, thank you for having me. It really was a blast. I enjoyed it a lot, and yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the episode in the after show, and also watching all the other episodes and getting to know the other members of the community a little bit better. So thank you for having me. It was really great.
Oh no, thank you, man. Thank you. So, anything? Oh yeah. Make sure to check out the description, and I'll see. I know that you didn't. I think you said you did make a TikTok again, so be sure to tell me later about your social medias, and I'll be sure to link them all in the description alongside with Picturefit socials, so that you can follow him on Instagram, YouTube. Join the Discord. The Discord link is also in the description, and be sure to follow RLC on whatever socials he has later on. I'm sure that's okay with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for watching. And stay tuned. Be sure to like and subscribe. I keep forgetting to say this, but be sure to like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell button so you don't miss another episode. If you're not in the server, that is. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh.